"Boarding will begin in 5 minutes," the attendant called, voice echoing over the gate speakers. Her father adjusted his tie, fingers tightening briefly. "Remember, just breathe," he said low, almost a whisper. She nodded, eyes scanning the line, catching sidelong glances that felt sharp, almost measuring. A man near them muttered, barely audible, "Why are they even here?" Her mother's hand rested on hers. "Ignore them," she said, calm but firm. The daughter exhaled slowly. Memories flashed. Past flights where seats were accidentally given away. Staff looking past her family as if they weren't there. Small indignities, piling quietly, forming a wall she'd learned to navigate. "You're tense," her father said, noticing her jaw. "I'm fine," she replied. Though her fingers twitched, a child behind them kicked the seat. An apology was offered, but the mother's eyes lingered on her family for a brief, uncomfortable second, curiosity and unease in one glance. The man ahead tapped his foot impatiently. "Hurry up," he said, loud enough to draw a glare from his wife. Her mother glanced at him, lips pressed together, a silent warning. "Can we just—" Her father's voice trailed, unspoken frustration in his eyes, restrained carefully. She looked around, noting the quiet shift, the subtle tension of passengers sensing a disruption without understanding it. The daughter whispered to herself, "This is always the start." A brief pause. Rolling luggage stopped. Conversations faltered. Every eye seemed to weigh the family differently, the air heavy with unspoken judgments. She straightened. "Let them watch," she said softly, almost to no one, and waited. The line shifted. The boarding call repeated, and the quiet, taut anticipation stretched further, as if the world itself were holding its breath. The husband tapped his foot again. "This is taking forever," he muttered, voice sharp, eyes scanning the line like a scoreboard. His wife leaned closer. "Just push them forward." "We can't miss the flight," she whispered. Tone clipped but forceful. The daughter noticed. Lips pressed together, and she straightened subtly, letting her presence fill the space. "Excuse me," her father said, quiet but firm. "We all have reservations. There's no need to rush anyone." The husband's jaw tightened. "I'm just saying, some of us have schedules." Her mother's eyes flicked toward him, steady. "Schedules don't give you the right to dismiss another human being." He hesitated, words caught somewhere between arrogance and shame. The wife placed a hand lightly on his arm, urging him to maintain control. The daughter's gaze didn't waver. "I understand timing is important," she said softly, voice calm, deliberate. "But I've been waiting too." A brief silence hung. Rolling luggage halted in the aisle. Passengers shifted uneasily, aware of the tension. The man glanced around, noticing eyes on him. I'm not being rude," he said, faltering. "You don't have to explain," her father replied. "Just recognize what's happening." The wife's whisper was sharp. "Ignore them. They're making this personal." "They're not making it personal," the daughter said, voice quiet but resonant. "It's already personal, for all of us who have been overlooked before." His eyes flicked downward. A moment of internal collapse passing unnoticed by most. Her mother leaned closer, a whisper. "Control what you can. Everything else." She paused, letting the silence hang like a verdict. He swallowed, shoulders stiff, aware of the weight in the room. The couple's entitlement met calm dignity, and for the first time, the air shifted. Passengers breathed a little differently. Observation alone became a witness. "You can't board this flight," the attendant said, voice tight, eyes flicking nervously to the passengers behind her. "I have a reservation," the daughter replied, calm, measured, almost impossibly steady. The line paused. Rolling luggage stopped. Murmurs rippled quietly among other travelers, uneasy at the tension hanging thick in the air. The husband shifted, eyes narrowing. "What's the problem?" he said, voice loud enough to be noticed. The attendant hesitated. There seems to be an issue with your ticket." "My ticket?" the father asked, stepping slightly forward. "Everything is in order." "Can you show me the problem?" She fumbled with her clipboard, voice shaking. It's just a protocol thing." "Protocol?" the wife whispered to her husband, urgency creeping in. The daughter's mother said quietly, voice firm, "Protocol doesn't justify blocking someone from their rightful seat." A hush fell. People's eyes darted between the family and the airline staff. The husband swallowed. Hand twitching at his side. "I can handle this," the attendant said, forcing a smile, but her hands trembled slightly. "You need to do what's right," the daughter said softly. Eyes steady, voice carrying weight without a raise. He turned toward her, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. It's complicated," he muttered, almost to himself. "No, it's simple," her father replied, calm, steady. "You're treating us differently for no reason." The wife glanced down, uncomfortable. The murmurs among passengers grew, soft but insistent, the collective gaze heavy. The attendant exhaled, swallowing. "Let me check again." The daughter's quiet nod, poised and dignified, met the room's attention. For a brief moment, the expected order of authority cracked. The line held its breath, and the air shifted, subtle, tense, waiting for the next move. Her fingers brushed the strap of her bag, a small grounding motion. She inhaled slowly. "It always starts like this," she whispered to herself, barely audible. Her mother leaned closer, voice low. "We've seen it before. Just hold steady." The father's jaw tightened. "They think silence is weakness," he muttered. The husband ahead shifted uneasily, glancing at the family, then away. "I don't understand." "Why now?" he said, more to himself than anyone else. "Because now is always the time," the daughter replied softly, eyes calm, steady. "We've waited long enough." The wife tugged lightly at her husband's sleeve. "Ignore them," she murmured, but even her voice betrayed tension. The murmurs around them grew, subtle but persistent, as passengers sensed the invisible shift. Rolling suitcases stopped for a moment, conversations faltering mid-word. A flashback hit her, a previous flight where a seat was denied, a clerk's glance that dismissed her presence. She felt the old frustration but didn't let it show. "They're noticing," her father said, eyes scanning the crowd. "Every look counts, every pause." The husband's hand twitched at his side. "It's awkward," he admitted, voice breaking slightly under unspoken pressure. "Yes," her mother said quietly, "because the truth doesn't need to shout. It just exists, waiting." She nodded, aware of the room holding its breath, the ordinary rules of control slipping imperceptibly. The daughter whispered again, "Watch closely. They won't recover this easily." The line remained still, the air heavy with unspoken realization. Eyes darted, whispers grew, and the couple's composure thinned. For the first time, the family's quiet dignity dominated the space, subtle but undeniable, letting the first tremor of reckoning settle in. She adjusted her backpack, fingers lingering on the strap, recalling the last flight where a clerk had misplaced her seat assignment. "It always comes back," she whispered, voice low. Her mother leaned closer. "Memories are heavy, but they don't define you." Her father exhaled sharply, scanning the line. "They're just waiting to test patience again," he muttered, voice tight. The husband ahead shifted, tapping his foot impatiently. "Why does this keep happening?" he asked, muttering to his wife. "Because some people think rules don't apply to them," she replied quietly, tone deliberate. The wife glanced at her, face tightening. "Ignore her," she whispered, but even her words sounded unsure. The daughter's eyes flicked to the attendant, noticing subtle hesitation, a slight tremor in her hand. "They're uncomfortable," she said softly. "You can feel it," the father nodded. "And it's about time." A brief silence fell. Passengers shifted uncomfortably, noticing the subtle tension but unsure why. Rolling luggage stopped mid-step. Her mother's voice was quiet, steady. "Years of looking past us ends here. Just this once, we don't step back." The husband's jaw tightened, a flash of internal unease crossing his face. "This is unusual," he muttered, eyes darting toward the observing crowd. "Yes," the daughter said softly, letting calm strength carry her words. "It's unusual because the truth is finally visible." Her father placed a hand briefly on her shoulder. "Hold steady. Let them see who we are without saying much." The wife swallowed, tugging at her husband's sleeve. The room's energy shifted imperceptibly. Authority wavered, entitlement flickered, and the past's weight finally met present resilience. The daughter exhaled, composed, internalizing decades of dismissal into quiet power. Around them, the hierarchy of expectation trembled silently. The attendant's hand lingered over the scanner, fingers trembling slightly. I need to check something," she murmured, glancing toward her colleague. He leaned in, voice low. "It's all clear. Just let her board. I can't—" "Not without approval," she whispered, eyes flicking nervously to the supervisor hovering nearby. The supervisor, stiff and formal, tapped his pen against the counter. "Protocols must be followed. No exceptions." "But," the colleague started, hesitating. "She has a confirmed reservation." It's a protocol issue," the supervisor interrupted sharply, voice brittle. The daughter's father exhaled quietly, leaning toward her. "Notice them?" he whispered. "They're unsure, faltering," she nodded, calm. They didn't expect someone to remain composed. That's the first crack. A clerk at the boarding gate glanced around, whispering into a headset. "Reservation confirmed, ma'am. Everything matches. No discrepancies." The supervisor frowned, adjusting his tie, a slight flush on his face. "Still, procedure—" The daughter spoke softly, deliberate, voice steady. "Following procedure doesn't mean ignoring fairness. Rules exist for everyone, not just some." Murmurs passed through the passengers. A reporter, notepad in hand, scribbled quickly, capturing the tension without speaking. The husband shifted, eyes flicking from the family to the staff. This shouldn't be happening," he muttered, voice tight, hands clenching. "Yes," the daughter said quietly, letting the weight of her calm sink in. "It's happening because fairness has been invisible for too long." A subtle shift ran through the line. Officers hesitated, staff glanced uncertainly, and authority trembled. For a moment, the invisible armor of privilege showed its fragility. The daughter exhaled, poised, letting the quiet dignity of presence carry more weight than argument. Around her, the system's cracks widened, almost imperceptibly, yet undeniably. The husband cleared his throat, eyes darting to the daughter's calm face. I don't understand," he muttered, voice tight. Jaw clenched. "You don't need to understand," she said quietly, letting each word settle like a weight. He glanced at his wife, who swallowed and whispered, Maybe we overreacted?" "Overreacted?" He barked softly, then paused, realizing the question sounded hollow even to himself. The daughter's father leaned slightly forward. "It's simple. Respect is not optional. Not for anyone." The husband's hand twitched against his leg. He forced a tight smile. "I'm just saying what?" She interrupted gently, voice even. "That rules exist only for some people?" Her mother's eyes held his, calm but unwavering. "Privilege doesn't entitle you to disregard fairness." The husband looked away, exhaling shakily. The room seemed to shrink around him, his authority invisible, his entitlement faltering. A clerk shifted uncomfortably nearby. "Sir, maybe we should proceed with boarding?" she offered, voice tentative. He swallowed, nodding stiffly. Yes, of course," he muttered, voice hollow. The wife adjusted her scarf, murmuring, "It's just different than we expected." "Yes," the daughter replied softly, a quiet firmness in her tone. "Different because dignity always wins where arrogance falters." A silence fell, thick and charged. Passengers shifted, glances flicking toward the family, sensing the quiet reversal of control. The husband's shoulders sagged imperceptibly. His composure cracked, words failing him entirely. Around him, whispers and hesitant stares grew, the entitlement that once shielded him dissolving under the weight of calm authority. The daughter exhaled lightly, standing poised, letting the silence speak louder than any argument, and the space itself acknowledged the shift. The husband's hand hovered over his phone, tapping nervously. "Did anyone record this?" he asked, voice low, almost pleading. The daughter glanced toward him, calm. Maybe they did," she said softly, letting the possibility hang like smoke. His wife swallowed, eyes flicking to the crowd. I don't know what to say. This is awkward. Awkward? The daughter's mother replied quietly. It's called accountability. A nearby passenger cleared her throat. Sir, ma'am, you might want to check your messages. People are noticing. The husband froze. His voice shook, quiet. Not everyone. People notice what matters, the daughter said almost under her breath. And dignity always matters more than anger. The wife turned toward him, voice trembling. I can't believe this is happening. You believed your entitlement could shield you, the daughter answered softly. It can't, not anymore. A clerk passed, whispering to a colleague. They're going to see this everywhere. Cameras, social media. The husband's jaw tightened. We should just leave. Too late, she said, calm but firm. The truth doesn't leave quietly. He stared down. Silence stretching between them, a quiet collapse taking hold. Passengers shifted, glances flicking toward the family. The murmurs now louder, though no one spoke directly. The air itself seemed to lean into her quiet authority. The wife's shoulders slumped, whispered, I never thought. You'll remember this, the daughter said softly, not because of shame, but because fairness cannot be ignored. The husband's hands trembled slightly. The world outside their bubble moved in slow, silent judgment. No one cheered, no one clapped, only recognition. And recognition, unspoken yet unavoidable, is often the heaviest weight of all. The daughter exhaled quietly, eyes forward, letting the moment speak for itself. The husband stared at his phone, voice tight. It's everywhere. The wife clutched her bag, whispering, I don't understand. How could this get out? Because the truth always finds a way, the daughter said, calm, eyes fixed ahead. A passerby glanced over, voice low. People are watching. Everyone knows. He shook his head, trying to mask panic. This isn't fair. It shouldn't be like this. Fair? She asked softly. You decided what was fair for others. That's what people are seeing now. The wife's hand trembled. I never meant to. I don't know what to do. You can't erase it, the daughter replied quietly. All you can do is learn from it. A notification pinged on his phone. Comments, messages, everyone's talking. It's recognizing injustice, the daughter cut in. It's not personal. It's necessary. He turned away, jaw tight. I didn't think anyone would. They are seeing what you always hoped stayed hidden, she said, voice steady, almost gentle. The wife lowered her gaze, whispering, I feel exposed. Exposure is the beginning of change, the daughter replied. You'll feel it, I promise. And it's heavier than anger, heavier than pride. Around them, passengers murmured softly, glances shifting between sympathy and silent acknowledgement. No applause, no confrontation, only the weight of collective witnessing. The husband's hands tightened, silence stretching, a quiet unraveling inside him. The wife's shoulders sagged. The daughter exhaled lightly, looking toward the horizon, letting the moment speak. Cameras, phones, whispers, all became witnesses to what dignity could do against arrogance. No words could undo the past, but still the world watched, and watching itself began to tip the scales. I didn't think anyone would. His voice faltered, trailing into silence. Didn't think anyone would notice? She asked, calm, precise. You didn't think the truth mattered beyond your comfort. He swallowed hard, gaze dropping. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. Intentions don't erase impact, she said softly, letting each word settle like a weight. The wife's lips trembled. We were just... Privilege, the daughter interrupted gently. It feels invisible until someone points it out. Now it's visible, and you have to face it. He shifted, hands clenching, jaw tight. I didn't know it would... It doesn't matter what you thought, she said. It matters what happened, a bystander whispered to another, voice low. She's so composed. I'm sorry, he mumbled, almost inaudible, the sound brittle with defeat. You should be, she said quietly. Not just for show, not just for cameras. For understanding, for change, the wife exhaled shakily. I didn't see... You saw what you wanted to see, the daughter replied. Now maybe you'll see differently. Silence stretched, heavy and thick, as murmurs rippled through the small crowd. No shouting, no spectacle, just recognition, quiet and insistent. He lowered his head, shoulders sagging, the first real sign of unraveling. The wife's gaze fell to the floor, shame brushing her features. She exhaled, a measured breath, holding herself steady. Around them, the atmosphere shifted imperceptibly. Awareness replacing indifference. Empathy softening edges, dignity asserting itself without a word raised in anger. The daughter's quiet composure radiated through the room, a subtle triumph witnessed by everyone present. Power had shifted, not with confrontation, but with steadfast, unshakable calm. "Did you see the notice?" the mother asked, voice low, almost hesitant. "Which one?" the daughter replied, flipping her phone open. "The one about the flight updates. They actually changed the seating rules," her father murmured, eyes fixed on the screen. The daughter exhaled quietly, a small smile brushing her lips. "It's something," she said, letting the words linger. A neighbor's message pinged. "Saw what happened. Proud of your composure," it read. The mother glanced at it, swallowing the lump in her throat. "People are noticing," the daughter said softly. "Even if they don't say it out loud." Her father shifted in his chair, hands tight around a mug. "I didn't expect anything to change so soon," he admitted, voice breaking slightly. "Change doesn't always need a crowd," she said, calm but firm. "Sometimes it starts with small ripples." The mother nodded. "The quiet ones matter too." A soft knock on the door revealed a neighbor holding groceries. "Just wanted to say, what you did staying calm. It mattered. People saw." "Thank you," the daughter said, voice steady. "That's enough." He watched her, realization dawning. "You've carried yourself with so much dignity. I hope others start to follow that example." She didn't reply immediately, letting silence underscore the weight of his words. Around them, the hum of the city outside felt different, less oppressive, somehow attentive. "I guess," the mother said finally, "the world can change bit by bit if we let it." "Yes," the daughter murmured, "and it often starts without anyone noticing." Quietly, persistently. The family exchanged glances, calm but aware of the subtle shifts forming around them. Empty spaces on flights, messages on phones, muted acknowledgement of what had been unjust, slowly being corrected. A quiet triumph had arrived, soft but undeniable. "Did you hear from him?" the mother asked, voice barely above a whisper. "No," the daughter replied, looking out the window. "Not a word. Not since the reports went public." The father shook his head, phone in hand. "His office? It's empty. Files untouched. Colleagues avoiding him." The daughter let the silence stretch, letting each pause carry meaning. "People notice patterns," she said softly. "Actions or inactions, they have consequences." Her mother frowned. "I thought he was untouchable." "He held all the power." "Power that hides behind entitlement isn't strong," the daughter said, calm but unwavering. "It cracks when restraint meets dignity." A quiet knock on the door drew their attention. A neighbor peered in. "You've been handling this with so much composure. It's impressive. People are talking." "Even the workplace whispers have changed," the daughter nodded. "It's not about applause. It's about the space we reclaim, without raising voices, without causing spectacle." Her father exhaled slowly. "I see it now. The absence, the silence. It speaks louder than any argument he could have made." The mother placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. "And the world is watching, even quietly. Rules bend. Privilege falters." "Exactly," the daughter said. "The cost of hiding behind arrogance becomes visible when dignity stands firm. No one needs to shout. No one needs to demand acknowledgement. It arrives." Outside, cars passed, indifferent. Yet the family felt the shift, the slow awakening of peers, neighbors, and institutions. Justice had arrived subtly, measured, leaving traces where arrogance once ruled, her father whispered, almost to himself. "I never thought silence could feel so loud." The daughter looked at him, calm, eyes steady. "That's because it's not silence. It's accountability in motion, quiet, relentless, undeniable."